The night Lily Harper's ex showed up at her door with that same twisted smile, she realized running from your past only works until it learns your new address. Across the hall, billionaire Ethan Cole heard the raised voices and made a choice that would crack open the careful walls he'd built around his heart. What happened next wasn't a fairy tale. It was messier, scarier, and more real than either of them expected. If you want to see how two broken people stopped running and started fighting, stay until the end. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The fluorescent lights in the hallway of the Sterling apartments buzzed like dying insects. Ethan Cole stood outside Unit 14B with a toolbox in one hand and his daughter Mia's sticky fingers wrapped around the other, wondering why the hell he'd volunteered to fix a stranger's cabinet. "Daddy, why does that lady live in a smaller apartment than us?" Mia asked, her voice carrying down the corridor with the brutal honesty only a 6-year-old could manage. "Because not everyone has the same amount of money, sweetheart. We talked about this." "But you have lots of money. You could give her some." Ethan sighed. "It doesn't work that way. Except lately he'd been thinking maybe it should. Or at least maybe he should stop pretending the world beyond his penthouse didn't exist. 3 years of emotional lockdown had seemed like good parenting after the divorce. Keep things stable, predictable, safe. But Mia was starting to notice the emptiness, starting to ask questions he couldn't answer without lying. He knocked, waited, knocked again. The door cracked open 6 inches, held by a chain lock that wouldn't stop a determined teenager, let alone an actual threat. A woman's face appeared in the gap, pale skin, dark circles under hazel eyes, brown hair pulled back in a messy bun that looked 3 days old. "Hi," she said. Her voice was flat, careful. "You must be Ethan. And you're Lily. The cabinet?" "Right, yeah, hold on." The door closed. He heard the chain slide. When it reopened, she stepped back quickly like she expected him to fill the entire doorway. "It's in the kitchen. The whole thing's about to fall off the wall." The apartment was a studio, maybe 400 square feet, and it looked like someone had moved in with 3 boxes and a prayer. A futon that served as both couch and bed. A folding table with 1 chair. A lamp on the floor because there was nowhere else to put it. The kitchen cabinet in question hung at a drunken angle, its top hinge torn completely out of the drywall. "Jesus," Ethan muttered. "How long has it been like this?" 2 weeks. I called maintenance 4 times. They said they'd get to it." Lily crossed her arms over her oversized sweatshirt, defensive. "I can't really afford to push them." "Push them? You're paying rent. They're supposed to—" He stopped himself. Not his business, not his problem, except Mia was already walking over to Lily's tiny bookshelf, examining the spines with the focused intensity she usually reserved for dessert menus. "You have the same book Daddy reads me," Mia announced, holding up a battered copy of Where the Wild Things Are. "Do you have a kid?" Lily's face did something complicated. "No, I like kids' books sometimes." "Me too. They're better than grown-up books. Grown-up books don't have pictures." "Some of them do. The boring ones." Lily almost smiled. Almost. It died before it reached her eyes, but Ethan caught it. A flash of something warm buried under whatever ice she'd wrapped around herself. He set down the toolbox and got to work. The damage was worse than he'd expected. Someone had mounted the cabinet using drywall anchors meant for picture frames, not storage. Amateur hour. He'd need to relocate the whole thing, hit studs, do it right. "This is going to take a while," he said. "You got plans tonight?" "Plans?" Lily let out a sound that might have been a laugh. No plans." "Daddy never has plans either," Mia said helpfully. "Except work. He always has work plans." "Thank you, Mia. Very helpful." "Ms. Chen says it's important to tell the truth." "Ms. Chen is your teacher, and she's right, but sometimes we can tell the truth quieter." Lily sat on the edge of her futon, watching them with an expression Ethan couldn't quite read. Not uncomfortable, exactly. More like she was watching a movie in a language she used to speak but had forgotten. He worked in silence for a while, drilling new holes, cursing quietly when the bit slipped. Mia entertained herself by organizing Lily's books by color, then by size, then by which ones look sad. "That one's definitely sad," she said, holding up something with a gray cover. "It doesn't even have a picture on it. Just words. Sometimes the saddest stories don't need pictures, Lily said quietly. That's dumb. Pictures make everything better. Mia, it's okay, Lily interrupted. She's not wrong. Ethan glanced back at her. She was still perched on the futon, knees pulled up, arms wrapped around them like she was trying to take up as little space as possible. The apartment was cold. He could see her breath when she spoke, but she hadn't turned on the heat. Saving money, probably. Or maybe she just didn't notice anymore. You just move in? He asked, more to fill the silence than anything. 3 months ago. From where? A pause. Everywhere. Nowhere. Does it matter? I guess not. I used to live in Dallas, she said after a moment, like she was testing out the words. Before that, Houston. Before that, I moved around a lot. Running from something? Her eyes snapped to his, sharp, defensive. Why would you assume that? I wasn't. People move for lots of reasons. You're right. I'm sorry. Another silence, thicker this time. Ethan focused on the cabinet, measuring twice, drilling once. Behind him, Mia had moved on from the books and was now examining the single photograph on Lily's otherwise bare walls. A beach at sunset, generic enough to come with the frame. Is this where you're from? Mia asked. No, I've never been there. I just liked the picture. Why? Because it looks peaceful. But you've never been there, so how do you know it's peaceful? It might be really loud. There might be seagulls screaming and people yelling and… Mia, that's enough. Ethan set down the drill and turned around. Why don't you go sit down and let Ms. Harper have some quiet? But I'm asking important questions. You always say questions are important. They are. But sometimes people don't want to answer them. Mia looked at Lily, her face scrunched in confusion. Do you not want to answer? Lily's expression softened slightly. It's not that. I'm not very good at talking to people anymore. That's okay. Daddy's not good at it either. That's why we never have friends over. Mia, it's true. You said so. You said you're socially selective. Ethan closed his eyes. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? I meant that we're careful about who we spend time with. Because of Mom? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Ethan opened his eyes and found both Mia and Lily staring at him. Mia with innocent curiosity, Lily with something that looked uncomfortably like recognition. Yeah, he said finally, because of Mom. Mia nodded sagely, like this explained everything, and went back to examining the photograph. Ethan returned to the cabinet, his hands moving on autopilot while his brain tried to figure out how the conversation had gotten away from him so quickly. Sorry, Lily said quietly. For what? She asked about… I didn't mean to… You didn't do anything. Mia has no filter. It's fine. It doesn't sound fine. He looked at her again. She was still curled up on the futon, but something in her posture had shifted. Less defensive, more present. Like she'd decided to actually exist in the room instead of just occupying space in it. My ex-wife left 2 years ago, he said, surprising himself. Decided being married to money wasn't as fun as she thought it would be. Took half of everything and moved to California with her personal trainer. That's pathetic? Yeah. The worst part is I didn't even see it coming. I actually thought we were happy. I was going to say painful. That too. Mia was pretending not to listen, but her book sorting had slowed to a crawl. Ethan made a mental note to have another conversation with her later about Mom, trust, and why Daddy sometimes said too much to strangers. What about you? He asked. What's your story? Lily's face closed down immediately. I don't have one. Everyone has one. Mine's boring. Try me. Why do you care? Good question. Why did he care? He'd spent 2 years perfecting the art of not caring, of keeping his world small and manageable. Work, Mia, sleep, repeat. No complications, no variables, no risk. But something about this woman, this stranger across the hall with her empty apartment and careful words, made him want to break his own rules. Because you fixed Mia's toy last week, he said finally. The stuffed rabbit. She dropped it in the hallway and you sewed the ear back on. Lily blinked. That was nothing. It was something to her, and you didn't have to do it. You could have just handed it back. The ear was hanging by a thread. It would have fallen off. See, that's what I mean. You noticed. Most people wouldn't have noticed. Most people aren't. She trailed off, shaking her head. Never mind. Aren't what? Nothing. Forget it. He wanted to push, but Mia chose that moment to announce she needed to use the bathroom, and by the time he'd walked her down the hall to their apartment and back, the moment had passed. Lily had retreated behind her walls again, answering his questions about the cabinet with one-word responses while staring at her phone like it held the secrets of the universe. It took another 40 minutes to get the cabinet properly mounted. When he finished, Lily stood and inspected his work with the kind of careful attention that suggested she was used to things being done poorly. "It's solid," she said. "It'll hold." "Thank you. I can pay you." "Don't." "But you spent 2 hours." "I spent 2 hours fixing something that should have been fixed 3 months ago when you moved in. If anyone owes anyone anything, it's your landlord owing you." He started packing up his tools, then paused. "You know you have rights as a tenant, right? They can't just ignore maintenance requests." "I know." "Then why?" "Because I can't afford to make waves. I'm barely affording this place as it is, and if they decide I'm a problem tenant..." She shrugged. "There are 50 people waiting for this apartment. They don't need me." "That's illegal." "That's reality." Ethan wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, to fix this the way he'd fixed the cabinet. But he recognized that look in her eyes. The same look he saw in the mirror every morning. The look of someone who'd learned that the world didn't care about fair, only about power, and that sometimes survival meant swallowing your pride and keeping your head down. "Well," he said instead, "if anything else breaks, let me know. I'm across the hall anyway." "You really don't have to." "I know, but I'm going to." She studied him for a long moment, like she was trying to figure out the catch. Finally, she nodded. "Okay. Thank you." "Daddy, can we go now? I'm hungry." "Yeah, we can go." He hefted the toolbox and headed for the door, Mia trailing behind him. At the threshold, he turned back. "Hey, Lily?" "Yeah?" "That picture on your wall, the beach?" "What about it?" "Mia's right. You can't know if it's peaceful just from looking at it. But you can decide that's what it means to you. That's allowed." Lily's expression flickered, confusion, then something that might have been gratitude. "I'll try to remember that." The next time Ethan saw Lily was 4 days later, on a Tuesday night at 11:30. He was coming back from the corner store with a gallon of milk and a bottle of whiskey he had no intention of opening, and she was standing in the hallway outside her door, staring at her phone like it had just delivered devastating news. "Everything okay?" he asked. She jumped, nearly dropping the phone. "Jesus, you scared me." "Sorry, didn't mean to. You look..." "Fine, I'm fine." She wasn't fine. Her hands were shaking. Her face had gone sheet white, and when she tried to unlock her door, it took her 3 attempts to get the key in the hole. "Lily, I said I'm fine." The door swung open and she disappeared inside, closing it firmly behind her. Not a slam, but close. Ethan stood in the hallway for a moment, debating whether to knock, then decided against it. Not his business, not his problem. He made it exactly 3 steps toward his own apartment before he heard the sound. A choked sob, quickly muffled. Then another. Then silence. Fuck. He set down the milk and whiskey and knocked on her door. "Lily? I'm coming in if you don't answer." "Go away." "Can't do that." "Why not? You don't even know me." "I know you're crying alone in a studio apartment at midnight. That's enough." Silence. Then the door opened a crack. Lily's face appeared, eyes red, cheeks wet. "This isn't your problem." "I know." "Then why are you still here?" Good question, great question. The smart move would be to back off, go home, pour the whiskey he'd sworn he wouldn't open. But Mia's words from earlier that week kept rattling around in his head. "You said you're socially selective," which was a nice way of saying isolated, which was a nice way of saying afraid. "Because I think we're both really good at pretending we're fine when we're not," Ethan said. "And I think maybe it'd be nice to stop pretending, just for tonight." Lily stared at him for a long moment. Then, without a word, she stepped back and let him in. The apartment was dark except for the glow from her phone, which was lying face up on the futon. From where Ethan stood, he could see a text message thread, but he deliberately didn't read it. Instead, he sat down on the floor, The futon was clearly her space, and waited. Lily sat across from him, pulling her knees to her chest again. That seemed to be her default position. Small, contained, safe. "It's my ex," she said finally. "He found me." "Found you?" "I've been moving around for 18 months trying to make sure he couldn't. Changed my number twice. Deleted all my social media. Paid rent in cash so there wouldn't be a paper trail. And he still—" She gestured at the phone. "He sent me a message on this app I forgot I had. Just, 'I know where you are.'" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Did you call the police?" "And tell them what? That my ex-boyfriend texted me? They can't do anything unless he threatens me, and he's too smart for that. He knows exactly how to stay just inside the legal line." "Restraining order?" "I tried. The judge said there wasn't enough evidence of ongoing harassment." She laughed, bitter. Apparently moving to 3 different cities in 18 months to get away from someone doesn't count as evidence. That's insane. That's the system. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, trying to think. This was beyond his expertise. He knew how to build companies, manage portfolios, negotiate contracts. He had no idea how to fight whatever ghost was haunting this woman. "What's he want?" he asked. "Same thing he's always wanted, control. He can't stand that I left, that I chose myself over him. So he spends his time reminding me that I'm never really free." "You could move again." "And he'll find me again. He always does. He's got money, connections, time. I've got—" She gestured around the bare apartment. "This. So what are you going to do?" "I don't know. Keep running, I guess. It's all I know how to do anymore." Ethan thought about that. About running, about fear, about building your entire life around avoiding pain. It sounded familiar, felt familiar. "I built my company because I was terrified of being poor," he said quietly. "My dad lost everything when I was 12. Bad investments, worse decisions. We went from a 4-bedroom house to a studio apartment smaller than this one. I watched him break apart piece by piece until there was nothing left but regret and whiskey." Lily looked up at him, surprised. "I didn't know—" "Oh, no one does. It's not in my bio. But it's the truth. Every decision I've made since I was 18 has been about making sure I'd never be that helpless again. And you know what? It worked. I've got more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes, but I'm still terrified, just of different things now." "Like what?" "Like letting anyone close enough to hurt me again. Like Mia growing up and realizing her dad's a coward who hides behind bank accounts and closed doors." "You're not a coward. Neither are you. I run from my problems. That's literally the definition of a coward. You survived. That's the definition of brave." She shook her head. "You don't understand. I'm not strong. I'm not brave. I'm just tired. So tired of being afraid all the time." Ethan didn't have an answer for that. Didn't have a solution. But he stayed anyway, sitting on the floor of her apartment until nearly 2 in the morning, talking about nothing and everything. About Mia's obsession with dinosaurs. About Lily's job at a coffee shop downtown where the manager yelled and the tips were shit. About how both of them had become experts at smiling through pain. When he finally left, Lily walked him to the door. She looked exhausted but calmer, less like she might shatter at the slightest touch. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not telling me it's going to be okay. Everyone always says that, and it's always a lie." "Yeah," Ethan said. "It is." We'll say the friendship, if that's what it was, developed slowly, in fragments. Ethan would run into Lily in the hallway, and they'd talk for 5 minutes, 10, 20. She'd borrow a screwdriver and return it with a thank you note written on the back of a receipt. He'd knock on her door when he made too much dinner and couldn't let it go to waste. Mia loved it. She'd started calling Lily the book lady and would drag Ethan across the hall at random intervals to show her drawings, ask her questions, or just sit quietly while Lily read aloud in a soft voice that somehow made even the silliest stories sound important. "She's lonely," Mia announced one night while Ethan was putting her to bed. "What makes you say that?" "She's always by herself, and she looks sad even when she smiles." "Some people are just quiet, sweetheart. It's not the same thing as quiet. It's lonely. Like when you get home from work and sit in the dark before you remember to turn on the lights." Ethan stared at his daughter, unsettled by how clearly she saw the world. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just don't notice because you're thinking about work." "That's fair." Are you going to marry the book lady? What? No, Mia, we're just friends. That's what Mom said about her trainer. That's different. How? Because Ethan trailed off, unable to articulate the difference without sounding like a hypocrite. It just is. Now go to sleep. But he thought about it later, after Mia's breathing had evened out and the apartment had gone quiet. He thought about the way Lily's face changed when she laughed. Rare, but genuine. About how she'd started leaving her door open when she knew Mia might visit. About the night she'd shown up at his door at 3 in the morning because she'd heard him pacing and wondered if he was okay. He wasn't falling for her. He couldn't be. He'd learned that lesson already, paid that price. Love, or whatever people called it, was a liability, a weakness, something other people used against you when you stopped being useful. But friendship? Maybe that was different. Maybe that was allowed. 3 weeks after the text from her ex, Lily knocked on Ethan's door with a bottle of cheap wine and a question. Do you know how to change a tire? Ethan blinked. What? A tire. On a car. I got a flat and I have no idea what I'm doing. You drove here on a flat? No, it's parked 2 blocks away. I walked here because I didn't know who else to ask, and Google made it look complicated, and... She stopped, took a breath. Can you help me or not? Yeah, of course. Let me grab my coat. They walked to her car in silence, breath fogging in the cold November air. Lily's car turned out to be a 15-year-old Honda Civic with a dented bumper and a passenger window held together with duct tape. The flat was on the rear driver's side, completely shredded. Jesus, what did you hit? I don't know. I heard a pop and then it started pulling to the left. Ethan knelt down to examine the damage. The tire was toast, but the rim looked okay. You have a spare? I think so. It came with the car. They popped the trunk and found the spare. One of those useless donuts that looked like it couldn't support the weight of a strong sneeze. Ethan pulled it out along with the jack and got to work, explaining each step as he went. Lily watched intently, asking questions, taking mental notes. Why are you learning this? He asked as he tightened the lug nuts. Because I can't afford to pay someone every time something breaks, and I can't keep asking you for help. I don't mind. I mind. He glanced up at her. She was serious. No trace of pride or defensiveness, just simple truth. Why? Because I spent 3 years relying on someone else to fix things for me, and when that person turned into a nightmare, I realized I didn't know how to do anything by myself. I couldn't change a tire or wire a plug or even open a jar without asking for help. And he loved that I needed him. So now you're learning. Now I'm learning. Ethan finished tightening the nuts and stood, wiping his hands on his jeans. Okay, here's what you do if this happens again. He walked her through it step by step. Where to position the jack, how to loosen the nuts before lifting the car, the right order to tighten them back. Lily listened like she was memorizing a mathematical proof, repeating the steps back to him until she had them perfect. Got it, she said finally. Thank you. You're welcome. But Lily? Yeah? You know it's okay to ask for help sometimes, right? Being independent doesn't mean doing everything alone, says the guy who hasn't let anyone into his life in 2 years. Touché. They started walking back toward the apartment, moving slowly, neither of them in a hurry to end the conversation. The streets were quiet, most of Austin already asleep or settling in for the night. Above them, the sky was clear enough to see stars, a rarity in the city. Can I ask you something? Lily said. Sure. Why are you being nice to me? Ethan frowned. What kind of question is that? A serious one. You're a billionaire. You could live anywhere, do anything. Instead, you're fixing my cabinets and changing my tires and letting your daughter hang out in my depressing studio apartment. Why? Maybe I like your depressing studio apartment. Ethan, he sighed. Honestly, I don't know. At first it was just, Mia liked you, and you seemed like you could use a friend. But then I started realizing that I could use a friend too, that I'd turned into this person who only existed in 2 dimensions, dad and CEO, and forgot there were supposed to be other parts. And I'm helping with that? Yeah, you are. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, your ex-wife was an idiot. Ethan laughed, a real laugh, the first one in weeks. Thanks. I'm serious. Anyone who'd walk away from you and Mia, she had her reasons. Shitty ones. Maybe, but I wasn't easy to be married to. I worked 80-hour weeks, never took vacations, treated every conversation like a board meeting. She used to say I'd rather solve problems than feel them. Is she wrong? No, but I'm trying to be better. Why? Because Mia deserves better, and because... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Because I think maybe I do too. They'd reached the apartment building. Lily stopped at the entrance, one hand on the door. Ethan? Yeah? I'm glad you're my neighbor. It was such a simple statement, so earnest and unguarded that it hit him harder than it should have. He thought about all the calculated relationships in his life, business partners, investors, lawyers, nannies, and realized how rare it was to hear something that didn't have an angle attached to it. I'm glad you're mine too, he said. Amount. The breaking point came on a Friday night in early December. Ethan had just gotten Mia to bed when he heard shouting in the hallway. Male voice, angry. Female voice, scared. He was out the door in seconds. Lily's ex stood outside her apartment, one hand braced against the doorframe, blocking her exit. He was tall, expensive suit, the kind of handsome that knew it and weaponized it. When he saw Ethan, his expression shifted from anger to amusement. Can I help you? He asked, voice dripping with false politeness. You can leave, Ethan said flatly. This is a private conversation. Doesn't look private, looks like harassment. The ex, Lily had never told Ethan his name, smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. And who the fuck are you? The boyfriend? Neighbor, and you're trespassing. I'm visiting my girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend, Lily said quietly. She was pressed against her door, arms wrapped around herself. We broke up. You know we broke up. We had a disagreement. That's not breaking up. I moved 3 cities away. That's breaking up. You were being dramatic. You always get dramatic when you're upset. Ethan felt his hands curl into fists. He forced them to relax. Violence wouldn't help. Violence would make everything worse. She asked you to leave, he said, keeping his voice level. So leave. Or what? Or I call the police and let them know there's someone harassing a tenant in my building. Your building? The ex laughed. You own this shithole? No, but I know the owner, and I know he doesn't appreciate people showing up uninvited and threatening residents. It was a bluff. Ethan had never met the building owner, but the ex didn't need to know that. What mattered was that he believed it, and judging by the way his smile faltered, he did. This isn't over, Lily, he said, turning back to her. You can't just run away from what we had. What we had? Lily's voice shook, but there was steel underneath. We didn't have anything. You had control. I had fear. That's not a relationship. You ungrateful. Time's up, Ethan interrupted. Leave. Now. For a moment, it could have gone either way. The ex looked at Lily, then at Ethan, calculating odds and outcomes. Finally, he stepped back, hands raised in mock surrender. Fine. I'll go. But this isn't over. Yeah, it is, Lily said quietly. I'm done running, and I'm done being afraid of you. Something flickered across the ex's face. Surprise, maybe? Or anger? But he didn't argue, just turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing down the hallway until they faded into nothing. Ethan waited until he heard the front door close before turning to Lily. She was crying silently, tears streaming down her face while her shoulders shook. Hey, he said softly. You're okay. He's gone. He'll come back. Then we'll handle it again. We? Yeah, we. Lily looked at him, really looked at him, and something in her expression broke open, not shattered, opened, like a door she'd been keeping locked had finally swung wide. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Do what? Trust someone. Let someone help. I keep waiting for the moment when you realize I'm too much work and walk away. I'm not walking away. You don't know that. Yeah, Ethan said. I do. And for the first time since his divorce, since his father's collapse, since he'd learned that love was just another word for leverage, he meant it. He didn't have a plan, didn't have a strategy, but he knew, with the kind of certainty that bypassed logic entirely, that he wasn't going to abandon this woman. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Lily must have seen something in his face because she nodded slowly. Okay. Okay? Okay, I believe you. She wiped her eyes, took a shaky breath. Thank you for being here, for not letting him. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. Because you didn't have to step in. You could have ignored it. Most people would have ignored it. I'm not most people. No, Lily said softly. You're really not. They stood there in the hallway, the silence stretching between them. It should have been awkward, should have felt heavy. Instead, it felt like the first honest moment either of them had experienced in years. Finally, Lily spoke. Do you want to come in? I don't want to be alone right now. Ethan thought about Mia, asleep in the next apartment, thought about boundaries and optics, and all the reasons this was probably a bad idea. Then he thought about Lily's face when her ex had been blocking her door, and all those reasons evaporated. Yeah, he said. I'd like that. They talked until sunrise, about everything, about nothing, about the things they'd been too afraid to say out loud. Lily told him about meeting her ex in college, about how charming he'd been at first, how slowly the charm had curdled into control, how by the time she realized what was happening, she'd been so isolated from friends and family that leaving felt impossible. Ethan told her about his marriage, about how his wife had accused him of loving his company more than her, and how he'd never been able to prove her wrong, about the guilt of knowing Mia was growing up in a broken home because he'd been too obsessed with success to notice his marriage was dying. Do you think we're broken? Lily asked as the sky turned pink outside her window. I think we're human. That's not an answer. Yeah, it is. Everyone's broken in some way. The question is whether you let it define you or whether you build something new around it. Is that what we're doing? Building something new? Ethan looked at her, really looked, at the dark circles under her eyes and the mess of her hair and the way she held her coffee cup like it might escape if she wasn't careful. She was beautiful in the way broken things sometimes are, not despite the cracks, but because of them. I think, he said carefully, that we're figuring it out as we go. That's terrifying. Yeah. But also kind of exciting. Yeah. Lily smiled, a real smile this time, the kind that reached her eyes and lit up her whole face. And Ethan realized with a strange mix of terror and relief that he was already in too deep to back out now. Not that he wanted to. The thing about building something new, Ethan discovered, was that it didn't follow a blueprint. There was no instruction manual for whatever was happening between him and Lily, no clear progression from neighbors to friends to something else he didn't have a name for yet. It started small. Lily began joining them for dinner twice a week, always bringing something. A loaf of bread from the bakery down the street, a six-pack of beer, once a potted plant she'd found on sale that promptly died within 3 days because none of them remembered to water it. Mia loved having her there, loved the way Lily listened when she talked about school and dinosaurs and why her friend Emma was being mean about sharing crayons. Emma sounds like she's dealing with some big feelings, Lily said one night, helping Mia build a fort out of couch cushions while Ethan cleaned up the kitchen. That's what Ms. Chen said. But I don't know what that means. It means sometimes people act mean because they're sad or scared about something else, and they don't know how to talk about it. So I should just let her be mean? No. You should tell her how it makes you feel. Sometimes people don't realize they're hurting someone until someone tells them. Mia considered this, her face serious. Did someone hurt you and not realize it? Ethan stopped scrubbing the pan and turned around, watching Lily's face carefully. She'd gone still, that careful blankness sliding over her features. Yeah, she said finally. Someone did. Did you tell them? Not at first, I was scared. But you told them eventually? I tried to, but he didn't want to listen. Then he's dumb. Daddy says people who don't listen are missing half their brain. Lily laughed. Actually, laughed. Your daddy's a smart man. I know, he has lots of money, so he must be smart. Money doesn't make you smart, sweetheart, Ethan said, drying his hands on a towel. Lots of rich people are idiots. Are you an idiot? Sometimes. Like when? Like when I forget to check if we have milk before I pour cereal, or when I schedule 3 meetings at the same time, or when He stopped himself before saying, when I didn't notice my marriage was falling apart because that was too heavy for a 6-year-old. When I do lots of things. Mia seemed satisfied with this answer and went back to Fort Construction. Lily caught Ethan's eye across the room and mouthed, "Thank you." He wasn't sure what he was being thanked for, but he nodded anyway. Later, after Mia had gone to bed and Lily was getting ready to leave, she paused at the door. "She's lucky to have you," Lily said. "I'm lucky to have her. She keeps me honest." "It's more than that. You listen to her. You take her seriously. A lot of parents don't do that." "Your parents didn't?" Lily's expression shuddered. "My parents did their best with what they had, which wasn't much." "Are you still in touch with them?" "My mom died when I was 19, cancer. My dad." She shrugged. "We don't talk. Haven't in years. He didn't approve of my ex, told me I was making a mistake, and when I didn't listen, he cut me off. By the time I realized he was right, too much time had passed, too much pride on both sides. You could reach out." "I could, but I won't." She pulled her jacket tighter. "Some bridges burned too clean to rebuild." Ethan wanted to argue, but he understood. He had his own burned bridges. College friends who'd stopped calling when he got too busy, a brother he hadn't spoken to since their father's funeral, investors he'd screwed over on his way to the top. Success had cost him more than he'd realized at the time, and now he was living in the debt. "Well," he said, "for what it's worth, you're always welcome here, burned bridges or not." "I'm starting to believe that." "Good." She left, and Ethan stood in his living room feeling the kind of content he hadn't experienced in years. It was dangerous, this feeling. It made him soft, made him forget that people left, that trust was a liability, that letting someone matter meant giving them the power to destroy you. But for once, he didn't care. The first time Lily's phone rang during dinner, Ethan didn't think anything of it. She glanced at the screen, declined the call, and went back to her pasta like nothing had happened. The second time, 10 minutes later, her hand shook slightly as she hit decline again. The third time, Ethan set down his fork. "You want to get that?" "No." "You sure? Because I'm sure." Her voice was tight, controlled. The same voice she'd used the night her ex showed up. Mia, oblivious to the tension, was telling a story about a lizard she'd seen on the playground. Lily smiled and nodded in all the right places, but Ethan could see the muscles in her jaw working, the way her eyes kept flicking to her phone. When it rang a fourth time, she stood abruptly. "I'm sorry. I need to take this. I'll be right back." She disappeared into the hallway. Ethan couldn't hear the conversation, but he could hear the tone, sharp, then pleading, then sharp again. When she came back 5 minutes later, her eyes were red. "Everything okay?" he asked quietly. "Fine, just work stuff." It was a lie. They both knew it was a lie. But Mia was still talking about the lizard, and this wasn't the time to push. Lily left early that night, claiming a headache. Ethan didn't stop her. Instead, he waited until Mia was asleep, then knocked on Lily's door. She opened it wearing pajama pants and an oversized t-shirt, her hair wet from a shower. "Hey!" "That wasn't work." "Ethan? Was it him?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. "What did he want?" "Same thing he always wants, to remind me that he's still there, still watching." "Did he threaten you?" "Not in so many words. He's too smart for that. He just—" She leaned against the doorframe, exhausted. "He knows things he shouldn't know, like where I work, what time my shifts end, what I ordered at the grocery store last week." Ethan's blood went cold. "He's following you. Or paying someone to follow me. I don't know. But he wants me to know he can get to me whenever he wants. We need to call the police." "And say what? That my ex is calling me? That he mentioned seeing me at the store? None of that's illegal. Stalking is illegal. Proving it is nearly impossible. I've tried, Ethan. I've talked to lawyers, cops, victim advocates. Everyone says the same thing. Until he does something physical, there's nothing they can do. So we just wait until he hurts you? We don't do anything. This is my problem." "Like hell it is." Lily's eyes flashed. "You're not responsible for me. You're not my boyfriend or my husband or my— I'm your friend, and friends don't let friends deal with stalkers alone. You have Mia to think about. I'm not dragging you into my mess. Too late. I'm already in it." They stared at each other, both stubborn, both afraid. Finally, Lily's shoulders sagged. "I don't know what to do," she admitted. "I've tried everything I can think of. Changed my number again, but he still found a way. I can't keep moving. I can't afford it. And even if I could, what's the point? He'll just find me again. Then we stop running. And do what? Document everything, every call, every text, every time you see him or think someone's following you. Build a case so airtight that the cops have to take it seriously. That could take months. So we take months. You keep saying we. Yeah, I do. Lily looked at him for a long moment, something complicated moving across her face. Fear, hope, disbelief. Why are you doing this? Because someone should have done it for you a long time ago. Because you deserve to feel safe. Because he stopped, suddenly aware of how close they were standing, how the hallway light caught in her hair, how easy it would be to lean forward and, no, not now, not like this. Because you're my friend, he finished lamely. Right. Your friend. Yeah. Okay. She nodded slowly. Okay. We'll document everything, build a case, and if it doesn't work, it'll work. You don't know that. No, but I'm choosing to believe it anyway. Something in Lily's expression softened. You're an optimist. I didn't expect that. I'm not an optimist. I'm just stubborn. There's a difference? Probably not. She almost smiled. Almost. Thank you, Ethan. Stop thanking me. I can't. You keep doing things worth thanking you for. He wanted to kiss her. The realization hit him like a truck. Sudden, undeniable, terrifying. He wanted to kiss her and tell her everything would be okay, and promise things he had no business promising. Instead, he took a step back. Get some sleep. We'll figure this out tomorrow. Tomorrow, she echoed. He made it halfway to his door before she called his name. Yeah? If you change your mind about helping, about any of this, I'll understand. I won't be angry. I need you to know that. I'm not changing my mind. Okay. Good night, Lily. Good night. He went back to his apartment and poured himself 2 fingers of the whiskey he'd bought weeks ago and still hadn't opened. Then he sat in the dark, thinking about burned bridges and second chances and all the ways this could go wrong. The following Tuesday, Lily showed up at Ethan's office downtown. He was in the middle of a conference call with investors when his assistant knocked and told him he had a visitor. He almost said to send her away. He had back-to-back meetings until 7 and a product launch presentation to finalize. But something in his assistant's face made him pause. Tell them I'll call back in 10 minutes, he said to the phone, then muted it. Who is it? A woman named Lily Harper. She says it's urgent. Ethan was out of his chair before his assistant finished the sentence. Lily stood in the lobby looking completely out of place in her coffee shop uniform, her hands twisted together, her face pale. What happened? Ethan asked, pulling her into his office and closing the door. I'm sorry, I know you're working. I shouldn't have... Lily, what happened? He was at the coffee shop, my ex. He came in during the lunch rush, ordered a drink, sat in the corner for 2 hours just watching me. And when my shift ended, he followed me out. Didn't say anything, just followed me for 3 blocks before getting in his car and driving away. Did you call the police? Yes, they took a report. Said they'd increase patrols in the area, but they can't arrest him for ordering coffee. Did anyone else see him following you? I don't know. Maybe. It was crowded. Ethan pulled out his phone. What's the address of the coffee shop? Why? Because there might be security cameras. If we can get footage of him following you, that's evidence. The owner won't give us the footage. She barely tolerates me as it is. She'll give it to my lawyer. Lily blinked. You're going to send your lawyer to my coffee shop? Unless you have a better idea. Ethan, I can't ask you to... Oh, you're not asking, I'm offering. He was already texting his lawyer, typing quickly. This guy wants to play games? Fine. We'll play. But we play to win. This isn't a business deal. Everything's a business deal if you know how to negotiate. That's a depressing worldview. It's a realistic one. He finished the text and set down his phone. My lawyer will contact the coffee shop owner today. If there's footage, we'll get it. If there isn't, we'll figure out another way. Lily sank into one of his office chairs, her hands still shaking. I hate this. I hate that he's making me feel like this again. Like what? Small. Powerless. Like I'm back to being the person I was when we were together. Ethan crouched in front of her chair, catching her eyes. You're not that person anymore. How do you know? Because that person would have hidden in her apartment and hoped he went away. You're here. You're fighting back. That's different. I'm here because I was scared to be alone. And that's okay too. Being scared doesn't make you weak. Then what does it make me? Human. She let out a shaky breath. I keep thinking about what you said, about building something new around the broken parts. But what if I'm too broken? What if there's not enough left to build with? There is. You can't know that. No. Yeah, I can. Because I see you with Mia. I see you figuring out how to change a tire and fix your own cabinets and stand up to the person who terrifies you. You think that's broken. That's the strongest thing I've ever seen. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back, angry. I hate crying. Why? Because it's weak. No, it's not. It's your body processing trauma. That's biology, not weakness. Did you read that somewhere? Mia's therapist told me. After the divorce, she had nightmares for months. The therapist said crying was healthy, that we should let her feel what she needed to feel instead of trying to fix it. Did it work? Eventually. She still has bad nights sometimes, but they're further apart now. What about you? Do you have bad nights? Ethan sat back on his heels, considering the question. Yeah, more than I probably should. What do you do when you have them? Usually, work. Pour myself into a project until I'm too tired to think. That's not healthy. I know, but it's better than the alternative. Which is? Sitting in the dark thinking about everything I've lost and everyone I've failed. Lily reached out and touched his hand. Just a brief contact, but it sent electricity through his entire arm. You haven't failed. Tell that to my ex-wife. Your ex-wife made her own choices. That's not on you. I made it easy for her. Maybe. But she still chose to leave instead of fighting for what you had. That's her failure, not yours. Ethan looked at their hands, hers small and pale, his larger and marked with old scars from building furniture and fixing things. He should pull away, should maintain professional boundaries, should remember all the reasons this was complicated. He didn't move. I should let you get back to work, Lily said finally. You don't have to leave. Yes, I do. You have meetings, investors, a whole company depending on you. They can wait 10 more minutes. Ethan, please, just stay, just for a little while. So she did. They sat in his office while the city hummed outside, talking about nothing important, about the weather and traffic and the new restaurant opening down the street, about Mia's upcoming school play and whether Lily thought she should try out for the lead role. She's got the personality for it, Lily said, but she might be too nervous. She's never nervous. Everyone's nervous about something. She just hides it better than most kids. She gets that from me. The hiding or the nervousness? Both. When Lily finally left, Ethan's assistant informed him he'd missed 3 meetings and his investors were pissed. He didn't care. For the first time in his professional life, something mattered more than the bottom line. It was terrifying. The footage from the coffee shop came through 2 days later. Ethan's lawyer had it enhanced and time-stamped, showing clearly that Lily's ex had entered the shop, ordered a single coffee, and spent the next 2 hours watching Lily work. The footage from the street cameras showed him following her for 3 blocks before she turned into a convenience store and he walked to his car. It's not enough for an arrest, the lawyer said over the phone. But it's a start. If he does anything else, anything at all, we have a pattern of behavior. What counts is anything else. Another in-person contact, more phone calls, showing up at her apartment. The more we document, the stronger the case. So we just wait for him to escalate? Unfortunately, yes. That's how these cases work. Ethan wanted to put his fist through the wall. Instead, he thanked his lawyer and hung up. That night, he took Lily to dinner. Not at his apartment, not at hers, but at a real restaurant with tablecloths and wine glasses and food that cost more than Lily probably made in a week. This is too much, she said, looking at the menu. It's dinner. This is a mortgage payment. Then it's a good thing you're not paying. Ethan, Lily, let me do this, please. She set down the menu and looked at him across the table. Why? Because you've had a shit week and you deserve something nice. That's not a reason. What do you want me to say? The truth. The truth. The truth was complicated and messy and involved feelings he wasn't ready to name. The truth was that he looked forward to seeing her every day, that Mia talked about her constantly, that his apartment felt empty when she wasn't there. The truth was that he was falling for her and it scared the hell out of him. The truth, he said carefully, is that I like spending time with you. And I wanted to take you somewhere nice. That's it. That's it? That's it. She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, thank you. They ordered. Lily chose the cheapest thing on the menu despite Ethan's protests, and they talked about safe topics. Work, Mia, the weather. But underneath it all was a current neither of them acknowledged, a pull that grew stronger every time their eyes met. Halfway through dessert, Lily's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and all the color drained from her face. What? Ethan asked. She turned the phone around. A text from an unknown number. Nice dress. Red looks good on you. Ethan looked up sharply, scanning the restaurant. Is he here? I don't know. I don't see him. Come on. He threw down his credit card without waiting for the check, grabbed Lily's hand, and pulled her toward the exit. The valet brought his car around in less than a minute, and they were on the road before Lily could catch her breath. We should call the police, she said. We will, from my apartment, where there are locks and security cameras. He knows where I live. Then you stay with me tonight. Ethan, I'm not negotiating this. You're not going back to your apartment alone. She didn't argue, just sat in the passenger seat, staring at her phone like it might explode. Back at his apartment, Ethan called the police and filed another report. They said the same thing they always said. Document everything. Stay vigilant. Call if he makes direct contact. Useless bureaucratic bullshit that helped no one. After they hung up, Lily sat on his couch, looking smaller than ever. I'm sorry. For what? For ruining dinner, for dragging you into this, for... Stop. Ethan sat beside her. You didn't ruin anything, and you're not dragging me anywhere I don't want to be. You say that now, but eventually you'll get tired of this. Of me, of dealing with my crazy ex and my problems and... Lily. He waited until she looked at him. I'm not going anywhere. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. No one can promise that. People leave. People always leave. I'm not people. Everyone says that. She was right. Everyone did say that. And most of them were lying. But Ethan wasn't most people, and he wasn't lying. I spent 2 years building walls, he said quietly. After my divorce, after watching my marriage implode, I decided it was safer to be alone. Easier. I had Mia, I had my work. I didn't need anything else. And then you moved in across the hall, and suddenly those walls started feeling less like protection and more like a prison. Ethan, I'm not saying this to make you uncomfortable. I'm saying it because you need to know that you're not a burden. You're not an obligation. He paused, searching for the right words. You're the first person in years who's made me want to be more than just functional, and I'm not walking away from that. Lily's eyes filled with tears again. This time she didn't fight them. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Trust someone. Let someone in. Every time I've done it before, it's ended badly. Maybe this time will be different. Or maybe it won't. Maybe I'll screw it up. Maybe you'll realize I'm too damaged and... You're not damaged. You're surviving. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah, damage implies you're broken beyond repair. Surviving means you're still fighting, still choosing to be here. That's not damage. That's strength. She leaned against him then, her head on his shoulder, her body shaking with silent sobs. Ethan wrapped his arms around her and held on, wishing he could fight her battles for her, knowing he couldn't, hating every second of his own helplessness. Thank you, she whispered eventually. For what? For not giving up on me. I told you, I'm not going anywhere. And in that moment, sitting on his couch with this broken, brave woman in his arms, Ethan made a decision. He was done running from connection, done hiding behind work and money and carefully constructed walls. Whatever this was between them, friendship, something more, he was in it. Completely. Terrifyingly. For as long as she'd let him be, outside the city lights glittered like fallen stars. Inside, two people who'd spent years running from their pasts finally stopped long enough to catch their breath. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real. And for now, that was enough. Lily woke up on Ethan's couch with a blanket she didn't remember pulling over herself and the smell of coffee drifting from the kitchen. For a moment, she forgot where she was, forgot why she was there. Then it all came rushing back, the text at dinner, the panic. Ethan's hand wrapped around hers as they left the restaurant. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. Through the doorway, she could see Ethan moving around the kitchen, still in yesterday's clothes, his hair sticking up in ways that suggested he hadn't slept much either. "Morning," she said, her voice rough. He turned, a mug in each hand. "Hey, coffee? Please?" He brought it over, sitting in the chair across from her. The distance felt deliberate, careful, like he was giving her space to breathe. "What time is it?" she asked. "Almost 7. Mia's still asleep. She usually crashes until 8 on weekends." "It's Saturday?" "Yeah." Lily had lost track of days. That happened sometimes when fear took over. Time stopped making sense. Everything blurred together into one long stretch of waiting for the next bad thing to happen. "I should go," she said, but she didn't move. "You don't have to." "I can't hide here forever." "Why not?" She looked at him over the rim of her mug. He was serious. "Because you have a life, a daughter, a company to run. All of which will still be there whether you're here or not. Ethan, I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm just saying you're safe here. And until we figure out what to do about your ex, safe is better than sorry." Lily wanted to argue, but the truth was she didn't feel safe anywhere else. Not in her apartment, not at work, not walking down the street. The text last night had stripped away the last illusion of security she'd been clinging to. He could get to her whenever he wanted. He'd made that clear. "He's escalating," she said quietly. "I know." "The lawyer said we need more evidence, but what if by the time we get more evidence, it's too late?" "It won't be." "You can't know that." Ethan set down his mug and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You're right. I can't. But I can make sure you're not alone while we figure it out. That's something." "It's not your job to protect me." "Maybe not. But I want to anyway." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implications neither of them was ready to unpack. Lily looked away first, her throat tight. "I need to go to work," she said. "My shift starts at 10. Call in sick." "I can't afford to call in sick." "Then let me cover your shift." "You can't work at a coffee shop. You have meetings and—" "I'll cancel them." "Ethan, that's insane." "Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, going to a place where he knows you'll be, where he can watch you for hours, seems pretty insane." He had a point, a frustrating, logical point that made her want to scream. "I can't let him control my life," she said. "If I start calling in sick, if I start hiding, then he wins. This isn't about winning or losing, it's about staying safe." "Easy for you to say. You're not the one he's stalking." Ethan flinched. Good. She wanted him to flinch, wanted him to understand that this wasn't some problem he could throw money at until it went away. "You're right," he said after a moment. "I'm not. And I don't know what that feels like. But I know what it feels like to be powerless, to watch something bad happen and not be able to stop it. And I'm not going to sit here and let that happen to you. So what do you suggest?" "I suggest we call the coffee shop, tell them you're sick, and spend today figuring out our next move, together." "And tomorrow? And the day after that?" "I can't hide forever." "I'm not asking you to hide forever. I'm asking you to hide for one day while we come up with a plan." Lily wanted to fight him on it, but exhaustion won. She was so tired of being strong, of making decisions, of carrying the weight of her own survival. Just once, she wanted someone else to take the wheel. "Okay," she said. "One day." Relief flickered across Ethan's face. "Okay, good. I'll order breakfast. You like pancakes?" "I like anything I don't have to cook myself." He smiled, a real smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes, and pulled out his phone to order food. Lily watched him, this man who'd somehow become essential to her in a matter of weeks, and felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. Hope. Terrifying, stupid hope. By the time Mia woke up, they had a plan. Sort of. Ethan had called his lawyer again, who suggested they file for a restraining order based on the accumulated evidence. It was a long shot. Judges rarely granted them for harassment that didn't include direct threats. But it was something. "What happens if the judge says no?" Lily asked. "Then we try something else." "Like what?" I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. Mia appeared in the doorway wearing her favorite dinosaur pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Why is Lily here? She stayed over last night, Ethan said. We had a late dinner and it got too late for her to go home. Can she stay forever? Mia, what? I like when she's here. It's less boring. Lily laughed despite herself. I'm not boring. You're the opposite of boring. You tell good stories and you don't talk about work stuff all the time like Daddy does. I don't talk about work all the time, Ethan protested. Yes, you do. Yesterday you spent 20 minutes on the phone talking about something called quarterly projections. That's boring. Quarterly projections pay for your dinosaur pajamas. Then they're useful and boring. Ethan looked at Lily with an expression that said, "See what I deal with?" Lily just shrugged. The kid had a point. They spent the morning being deliberately normal. Pancakes with too much syrup. Cartoons that made no sense to adults. Mia building elaborate structures out of blocks while providing detailed backstories for each piece. It was domestic in a way that made Lily's chest ache, a glimpse of something she'd never let herself want. Around noon, Mia announced she wanted to go to the park. I don't know if that's a good idea, Ethan said carefully, glancing at Lily. Why not? Mia asked. Because it's crowded on weekends. So? I like when it's crowded. There are more kids to play with. Lily stood. We should go. Lily, if I'm going to spend the rest of my life afraid to leave the house, I might as well lock myself in a cage now. Let's go to the park. Ethan looked like he wanted to argue, but Mia was already running to get her shoes, too excited to notice the tension between the adults. Are you sure? He asked quietly. No, but I'm going anyway. The park was packed with families taking advantage of the sunny December afternoon. Kids screamed on the playground. Dogs chased frisbees. Couples walked hand in hand along the trails. Normal people doing normal things, completely unaware that Lily's hands were shaking inside her jacket pockets. Mia took off toward the swings, and Ethan and Lily found a bench with a clear view of the playground. They sat close enough that their shoulders touched, close enough that Lily could feel the heat of him through her jacket. Thank you for this, she said. For what? For not treating me like I'm fragile, for letting me make my own choices even when you think they're stupid. I don't think they're stupid. You think coming to a crowded park is smart? I think you're smart enough to know what you need. And if you need to prove to yourself that you're not going to let him turn you into a prisoner, then yeah, this is smart. Lily watched Mia swing higher and higher, her laughter carrying across the playground. She's fearless. She gets it from her mother. I thought you said your ex left. She did, but before that she was the bravest person I knew. Quit her job to start her own business. Learned to rock climb just because someone told her she couldn't. Moved across the country on a whim. He paused. I think that's why she left, actually. She was brave enough to admit we weren't working, and I was too scared to do the same. That doesn't make you a coward. Doesn't make me brave either. You're brave with Mia. That's different. Being a parent doesn't give you a choice. You have to be brave. You're brave with me. Ethan looked at her, something unreadable in his eyes. That's different too. How? Because with you, it doesn't feel like being brave. It just feels like being honest. Lily's breath caught. She wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she just looked at him, at this man who'd somehow slipped past every defense she'd built, and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Then Mia screamed. They were on their feet instantly, running toward the playground. But it wasn't an emergency. Mia had just spotted a friend from school and was calling them over with the enthusiasm only 6-year-olds could manage. False alarm, Ethan muttered, his heart still racing. Yeah. They went back to the bench, both of them wound too tight, both of them scanning the park like threats might materialize out of thin air, which was exactly what Lily's ex wanted, to make her so paranoid that she saw danger everywhere, even when it wasn't there. I hate this, she said. I know. I hate that he's in my head, that every time someone walks too close or looks at me too long, I think it's him. I hate that I can't just be normal. You are normal. I'm hyperventilating at a children's playground. That's a normal response to being stalked. Nothing about this is normal, Ethan. He reached over and took her hand, just held it, his thumb brushing across her knuckles. It should have felt like too much. should have crossed some invisible line, but instead it felt like the only thing keeping her tethered to the ground. "We're going to fix this," he said. "You can't fix everything. Watch me." She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that money and lawyers and restraining orders would be enough. But she'd learned the hard way that some problems couldn't be solved, only survived. They stayed at the park for another hour. Mia played until she was exhausted, her face flushed and happy. On the walk back, she held both their hands, swinging between them like a pendulum, chattering about her friend and the new game they'd invented involving dinosaurs and aliens. Lily let herself pretend, just for a moment, that this was her life, that she was part of this little family, that she belonged here, that the danger lurking at the edges of her vision was just a bad dream she could wake up from. Then her phone buzzed. She pulled it out with shaking hands. Another unknown number, another message. "Cute kid, she yours?" The world tilted. Lily stopped walking so abruptly that Mia stumbled. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked. Lily showed him the phone, watched the color drain from his face. "He was here," Ethan said quietly. "At the park. He saw Mia." "Lily, he saw her and he mentioned her, and what if he—" She couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't say out loud the fear that was clawing up her throat. Ethan crouched down to Mia's level. "Hey, sweetheart, I need you to do something for me." "Okay? I need you to walk very close to me and Lily until we get home. No running ahead, no stopping to look at things. Just stay close. Can you do that?" Mia's eyes went wide. "Are we in danger?" "No, but I need you to stay close anyway." "Like a drill?" "Exactly like a drill." They made it back to the apartment in record time. Ethan locked the door, checked every window, closed every blind. Lily sat on the couch, her whole body shaking. "He threatened her," she said. "He threatened Mia." "He didn't threaten her. He just mentioned her." "Same thing." "No, it's not. Legally, it's not." "I don't care about legally. He knows about her now. He knows she matters to me. That makes her a target." Ethan sat beside her, his jaw tight. "He's not going to touch her." "You can't guarantee that." "Yes, I can, because if he comes anywhere near my daughter, I will end him, legally or otherwise." The rage in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel safer than she had in months. "I should leave," Lily said. "Pack up, move again, get far enough away that he can't find me." "That won't work. You said it yourself. He always finds you." "Then what do I do?" "You stay. You fight. You let me help. And if he hurts Mia to get to me?" "He won't." "You don't know that. Then we make sure he can't." Ethan pulled out his phone. "I'm hiring security. For you. For Mia. For both of us. Someone to watch the building, someone to drive you to work, someone to make sure he can't get close. That's crazy. That's necessary. Ethan, I can't afford—" "I can. And before you argue, this isn't charity. This is me protecting my family." Lily's heart stopped. "Your family?" Ethan froze, like he hadn't meant to say it out loud. Then he met her eyes, and something in his expression shifted. "Yeah," he said quietly. "My family, you and Mia. That's what matters to me now." "Ethan, I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but I don't care. You're in my life now, and I'm not letting some psycho ex take that away." Lily didn't know what to say, didn't know how to process the fact that this man, this billionaire single dad who barely knew her, was calling her family. Before she could respond, Mia appeared in the doorway. "Why is everyone so serious?" "Just grown-up stuff," Ethan said, forcing a smile. "Is Lily in trouble?" "No, sweetheart." "Then why does she look scared?" "Out of the mouths of children." Lily tried to smile, but her face wouldn't cooperate. "Someone's been bothering me," she said, figuring honesty was better than lies. "And your dad's helping me deal with it." "Like a bully?" "Sort of. You should punch him in the nose. That's what you're supposed to do to bullies." "Mia, we've talked about this," Ethan said. "Violence isn't the answer. You said if someone tried to hurt me, I should fight back. That's different." "How?" "Because you're 6 and she's an adult." "So adults aren't allowed to fight back?" Ethan rubbed his temples. "Sometimes I forget how literal you are." "I'm just asking questions. You said questions are important." "They are, But right now, I need you to go play in your room for a bit. Lily and I need to talk." Mia looked between them, her face suspicious, but she went, dragging her feet the whole way. When they were alone again, Lily let out a shaky breath. "I'm putting her in danger just by being here." "No, you're not." "He mentioned her, Ethan. That's not a coincidence." "I know, which is why I'm hiring security tonight, which is why you're staying here until we figure this out. And if we don't figure it out, then we learn to live with it. But we do it together." "Why?" The question came out raw. "Why are you doing all this for me?" "Because He stopped, started again. "Because you matter, to me and to Mia. And I'm done pretending you don't." The confession hung between them like something fragile and new. Lily wanted to reach for it, wanted to say she felt the same, but fear held her back. Fear of hoping, of trusting, of letting herself believe this could be real. "I'm a mess," she said instead. "So am I." "You're a billionaire with a beautiful daughter and a successful company. And an ex-wife who left me, a dead father I never made peace with, and enough emotional baggage to fill a warehouse. We're all messes, Lily. The question is whether we're messes alone or together." She looked at him then, really looked, saw past the money and the confidence to the scared man underneath. The one who worked 80-hour weeks to avoid feeling. The one who'd built walls so high he'd forgotten what it was like to climb down. "Together," she heard herself say. "I want to try together." Something in Ethan's face cracked open. He reached for her hand again, and this time she didn't pull away. "Okay," he said. "Together." They sat like that for a long time, hands linked, neither of them quite believing they'd said the words out loud. Outside, the city kept moving, oblivious to the small revolution happening in apartment 14A. Inside, two broken people chose each other and hoped like hell it would be enough. The security team arrived that night, two men who looked like they ate walls for breakfast and could probably bench press a car. They set up cameras in the hallway, changed the locks on both apartments, and gave Lily a panic button that would alert them instantly if she pressed it. "This is insane," she said, watching them work. "This is cautious," Ethan corrected. "It's the same thing." Not even close. By midnight, the apartment looked like a small fortress. Lily stood at the window, looking out at the city, and tried not to feel trapped. "Hey," Ethan said softly, coming up behind her. "You okay?" "I don't know. Ask me tomorrow." "Fair enough." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Lily said, "What if this is a mistake?" "Which part?" "All of it. Us. This. What if I'm dragging you into something you can't get out of?" "Then we figure it out together. That's what we said, remember?" "I remember. I'm just scared." "Of what?" "Of him. Of losing you. Of finally having something good and watching it get destroyed." Ethan turned her around gently, his hands on her shoulders. "Look at me." She did. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "I know you've heard that before. I know you don't believe it, but I'm going to keep saying it until you do. That might take a while. I've got time." Lily felt tears prick her eyes. Again, she was so sick of crying, but her body didn't seem to care. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "How to let someone in without waiting for them to leave." "Neither do I. So we'll figure it out together, just like everything else." He made it sound so simple. Like trust was something you could just decide to have. Like fear was something you could set down and walk away from. But standing there in his apartment, with security cameras recording the hallway and a panic button in her pocket, and this man looking at her like she was worth protecting, Lily thought maybe it could be that simple. Maybe not easy, but simple. She leaned forward and rested her forehead against his chest, felt his arms come around her, steady and warm. And for the first time in 18 months, she let herself believe that maybe running was over. Maybe it was time to stand and fight. The decision to stand and fight sounded brave in the middle of the night, wrapped in Ethan's arms with security guards in the hallway. By Monday morning, it felt more like signing up for a war Lily had no idea how to win. She went back to work. Not because she wanted to, but because hiding felt like surrender. One of Ethan's security guys, Marcus, built like a tank with a face that suggested he'd seen some serious shit, drove her to the coffee shop and positioned himself at a corner table with a clear view of the door. This is ridiculous, Lily muttered to her coworker Sarah during the morning rush. That's your bodyguard? Sarah asked, not even trying to be subtle about staring. Girl, what kind of trouble are you in? The complicated kind. Does it have anything to do with that guy who came in last week? The one who creeped everyone out? Lily's hands stilled on the espresso machine. What did he do? Nothing specific. Just sat there watching you for like 2 hours. Made me want to call the cops, but he wasn't technically doing anything wrong. Sarah lowered her voice. Is he your ex? Yeah. Shit. Is he dangerous? I don't know. Maybe. That's why I have the bodyguard. Sarah looked at Marcus again, then back at Lily. You dating someone rich? It's not like that. Bodyguards aren't cheap. It's complicated. Everything with you is complicated lately. Lily couldn't argue with that. Her life had become a tangled mess of restraining order paperwork, security protocols, and emotional landmines she had no idea how to navigate. The only simple thing was how she felt about Ethan, and even that terrified her. The shift passed without incident. No sign of her ex, no threatening texts, nothing. It should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like waiting for the other shoe to drop. When Marcus drove her home that afternoon, she found Ethan's door open and voices coming from inside. She knocked, and Mia appeared, dragging her by the hand. Lily, you have to see what Daddy got me. Inside the apartment, cardboard boxes were stacked everywhere. Mia tore into one, pulling out what looked like a junior chemistry set. We're doing science experiments, Mia announced. Daddy said you could help if you want. Ethan emerged from the kitchen looking sheepish. I might have gone overboard at the toy store. Might have? Definitely did. But in my defense, I was stressed and retail therapy is a thing. Most people buy shoes. I bought educational toys. That's responsible retail therapy. Lily shook her head, but she was smiling. You're ridiculous. I prefer charmingly eccentric. Nobody would describe you as eccentric. Then I need to work harder. They spent the afternoon making volcanoes out of baking soda and vinegar, while Mia provided running commentary on the chemical reactions happening. She was scary smart for 6, already reading at a 4th grade level and asking questions that made Ethan pull out his phone to Google answers. Where does she get it from? Lily asked, while Mia was absorbed in mixing food coloring into her next batch of lava. Her mother. My ex was brilliant. Double major in college, speaks 3 languages, can solve a Rubik's Cube in under a minute. And you? I'm good at making money. That's about it. You're good at other things. Like what? Like being a dad. Like making people feel safe. Like fixing cabinets and changing tires and... She stopped, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. And what? Ethan asked quietly. And making me believe things might actually be okay. Something shifted in his expression. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering on her jaw. Lily, Daddy, I need more vinegar, Mia called. The moment shattered. Ethan stepped back, clearing his throat. Right, vinegar. On it. But as he walked away, Lily caught the look on his face. The same mixture of want and fear she felt every time he was close. They were circling each other, both too scared to make the first move, both wondering if the other felt the same. That night, after Mia had gone to bed and Lily had returned to her own apartment, Ethan knocked on her door with a bottle of wine. Thought you could use a drink, he said. Is it that obvious? You've been through hell this week. I'd be surprised if you didn't need a drink. She let him in. They sat on her futon. She'd never gotten around to buying real furniture, and drank wine out of mismatched mugs because she didn't own proper glasses. This is the saddest wine drinking experience I've ever had, Ethan said, examining his mug. Welcome to poverty. You're not in poverty. I'm one emergency away from poverty. There's a difference. Not with me around. Lily looked at him. You can't just throw money at all my problems. Watch me. Ethan, I'm serious. You need furniture? We'll get furniture. You need a new job that pays better? I'll make calls. I need to do it myself. Why? Because I spent 3 years letting someone else control every aspect of my life. I'm not doing that again, even if it comes from a good place. Ethan was quiet for a moment. You're right. I'm sorry. I want to help. I know. And you are helping, more than you know. But I need to keep some things for myself. My independence, my ability to take care of myself. Those are the things he tried to take away. I'm not giving them up again. even to someone who's not trying to take them, especially then, because that's how it starts. Small things. Paying for dinner, buying furniture, making life easier. And then one day you wake up and realize you don't know how to do anything without that person, and that's when the trap closes. I'm not him. I know. But my brain doesn't always know the difference between help and control. Ethan set down his mug and turned to face her fully. Then tell me. When I cross a line, when something feels too much like him, tell me. I'll back off. Just like that? Just like that. Most people get defensive when you set boundaries. I'm not most people. Lily laughed softly. No, you're really not. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, passing the wine bottle back and forth. Outside, Austin hummed with its usual Monday night energy. Cars passing, people shouting, sirens in the distance. Can I ask you something? Lily said eventually. Anything. Why me? Ethan frowned. What do you mean? I mean, you could have anyone. Someone without baggage, without a psycho ex, without all this drama. Why are you wasting your time on me? You're not a waste of time. That's not an answer. Ethan took a long drink from the bottle, considering. You want the truth? Always. Because you're the first person in years who doesn't want something from me. Everyone in my life, business partners, employees, even some of my friends, they all want something. Money, connections, opportunities. But you? You didn't even want me to fix your cabinet. You just wanted to be left alone. That's a low bar. Maybe. But it's a real one. And when we started talking, when we became friends, it wasn't because you were trying to get close to my money. It was just human connection. No agenda. No expectations. Just two people who were tired of being alone. And now? Now I'm terrified that I'm going to screw this up. That I'm going to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and you're going to realize I'm just another guy trying to fix you. Are you trying to fix me? Honestly? I don't know. Maybe. But not because I think you're broken. Because I'm broken, and fixing your problems is easier than fixing my own. The admission hung in the air between them, raw and honest. Lily had never heard someone be that transparent about their own dysfunction. We're quite a pair, she said. Yeah, we really are. So what do we do? About what? About this, us, whatever we're calling it. Ethan met her eyes. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to see where this goes. But part of me is terrified that it's too soon, that I'm not ready, that I'll just end up hurting you. You won't. You don't know that. Neither do you. So maybe we stop trying to predict the future and just exist in the present for a while. That's very zen for a billionaire. I have hidden depths. Clearly. He smiled and she smiled back, and for a moment everything felt impossibly simple. Then her phone buzzed. They both tensed. Lily picked it up, her stomach already churning. Unknown number. Of course. The message read, "Cute security guards. Think they can stop me?" He saw Marcus, Lily said, her voice hollow. Ethan took the phone, his jaw tight. We're going to the police. Now. It's almost midnight. I don't care. They went. Showed the officers the accumulated texts, the restaurant incident, the surveillance footage from the coffee shop. The officers took notes, made sympathetic noises, and said the same thing everyone said. They'd file a report, increase patrols, keep an eye out. That's it? Ethan demanded. He's actively stalking her and you're just going to file a report? Sir, unless he makes a direct threat or has a weapon, there's not much we can do. He mentioned my daughter. That's not enough? It's concerning, but it's not technically threatening. This is bullshit. Ethan, Lily said quietly, putting a hand on his arm. It's okay. It's not okay. None of this is okay. But he let her lead him out of the station anyway, both of them frustrated and exhausted. In the car, Ethan gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white. I can't just sit around and wait for him to hurt you. What else can we do? I don't know, but there has to be something. The restraining order hearing is in 3 days. Maybe the judge is going to look at a bunch of texts and say they're not threatening enough. You know it, and I know it. So what do you suggest? We can't exactly hire a hitman. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then, what if we could make him back off without involving the police? How? I have resources, connections, people who owe me favors. Ethan, no. Whatever you're thinking, no. I'm not talking about anything illegal, just leverage. Everyone has something they don't want exposed. What if we could find out what that is for him? Lily stared at him. You want to blackmail my ex? I want to convince him that leaving you alone is in his best interest. That's literally blackmail. It's negotiation. It's illegal. So is stalking. And if he goes to the police about the blackmail, then you're the one in trouble. Ethan pulled into the apartment parking lot and killed the engine. I don't care. If it keeps you safe, I don't care. I care. I'm not letting you risk everything for me. It's not your choice. The hell it isn't? This is my life, my problem. You don't get to ride in and make unilateral decisions. Someone has to. Not you. Not like this. They sat in the car, both of them angry, both of them scared, neither willing to back down. Finally, Lily said, I appreciate what you're trying to do, really, but I need you to trust me to handle this my own way. Your way isn't working. Then I'll find a new way. But I won't let you destroy your life trying to save mine. What if your life is more important to me than my own? The words hit like a physical blow. Lily turned to look at him, really look at him, and saw the truth written all over his face. Don't, she whispered. Don't what? Don't love me. It's too dangerous, for both of us. Too late. Ethan, I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, I know we're both disasters waiting to happen, but I don't care anymore. I'm tired of being careful. I'm tired of protecting myself. I just want to be with you. Lily felt tears streaming down her face. We can't. Why not? Because he'll use it against us, against you and Mia. He'll find a way to hurt everyone I care about, and I can't. Her voice broke. I can't be responsible for that. So what? We just pretend this isn't happening? Maybe. Maybe that's safer. Safer isn't better. It is when people you love are at risk. Ethan reached over and took her hand. What if I'm willing to take that risk? I'm not willing to let you. That's not your choice either. Then we're at an impasse. They sat there in this dark car, holding hands, both of them crying now, both of them wanting something they couldn't have. Finally, Ethan said, I'm not giving up on this. On us. There is no us. Yes, there is. You can deny it all you want, but it's there. It's been there since the day you fixed Mia's rabbit. That was just being nice. That was the moment I started falling for you. Stop. Why? Because it's inconvenient? Because it's scary? I've spent 2 years being scared, Lily. I'm done with it. Then you're an idiot. Probably, but I'd rather be an idiot in love than smart and alone. Lily pulled her hand away. I need to go inside. Lily, please, just let me go. She got out of the car before he could respond, practically running to the building. Behind her, she could hear Ethan calling her name, but she didn't turn around. Couldn't turn around. Because if she did, if she looked at him, she'd break completely. She made it to her apartment, locked the door, and slid down to the floor. The sobs came in waves, violent and overwhelming, until she couldn't breathe. She'd spent 18 months running from her ex. Now she was running from the one person who made her want to stop. The restraining order hearing was a disaster. The judge, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, reviewed the evidence with the enthusiasm of someone who'd seen this exact case 100 times before. Ms. Harper, she said, peering over her reading glasses, I see you have documentation of phone calls and text messages from the respondent, but I don't see any direct threats. He's stalking me, Lily said. He shows up at my work. He follows me. Has he threatened you with physical harm? Not in those words, but has he attempted to contact you after you've explicitly told him to stop? Yes, multiple times. And these contacts, are they threatening in nature or merely unwanted? Lily wanted to scream. He mentioned a child who's important to me. That feels threatening. Did he threaten the child specifically? No, but... Miss Harper, I understand your concern. But without concrete evidence of threats or attempts at physical contact, I can't grant a restraining order. The standard for these orders is quite high. Ethan, sitting beside Lily, leaned forward. Your Honor, with all due respect, isn't the point of these orders to prevent harm before it occurs? Why do we have to wait until he actually hurts her? Because, Mr. Cole, we also have to balance the respondent's rights. A restraining order is a serious matter with significant legal consequences. We can't issue them based on feelings alone. These aren't feelings. This is a documented pattern of harassment, which doesn't meet the legal standard for a restraining order in this jurisdiction. The judge closed the file. I'm denying the petition. However, I'm noting this hearing in the record. If the respondent's behavior escalates, Ms. Harper, you can file again with this documentation as supporting evidence. So I have to wait until he attacks me? Lily asked, her voice flat. I'm sorry, Ms. Harper. That's the law. They walked out of the courthouse in silence. On the steps, Lily stopped and looked at the sky, gray and heavy, threatening rain. I'm out of options, she said. No, you're not. The police won't help. The courts won't help. What's left? Me. I'm left. You can't fight the legal system, Ethan. No, but I can do what I said, find leverage, make him back off. And I told you no. Then what do you want me to do? Just watch while he terrorizes you? I want you to accept that some things can't be fixed. Bullshit. It's not bullshit. It's reality. My ex has money and time and nothing to lose. We can't beat that. So you're just giving up? I'm being realistic. Ethan grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. Listen to me. I don't care how much money he has. I don't care how connected he is. I will burn through every resource I have to keep you safe. Every single one. Why? Because I love you. The words hung in the air between them, impossible to take back. Don't, Lily whispered. Too late. I love you. And I'm not going to stand by and watch you get hurt. You'll get hurt too. Then we get hurt together. Lily felt something crack inside her chest. All the walls she'd built, all the defenses she'd maintained, they were crumbling, and she was powerless to stop it. I love you too, she heard herself say. That's why I'm trying to protect you. Then let me protect you back. That's not how this works. Then we'll make a new how. She wanted to argue, wanted to explain all the reasons this was impossible. But standing there on the courthouse steps with rain starting to fall and this man looking at her like she was worth fighting for, all her arguments felt hollow. Okay, she whispered. Okay? Okay. We do it your way. We find leverage. We make him back off. Together. Ethan pulled her into his arms, and for the first time since this nightmare started, Lily let herself believe they might actually win. It took Ethan's investigator less than a week to find what they needed. Lily's ex, his name was David Chen, which Lily still couldn't say without feeling sick, had been embezzling from his family's company. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. Enough to fund his comfortable lifestyle and his obsessive stalking. His father doesn't know, the investigator said, laying out the evidence. If this came to light, he'd be disowned and probably prosecuted. Are you sure? Ethan asked. Positive. The paper trail is solid. Lily stared at the documents, her hands shaking. This was it, the leverage they needed. But using it meant crossing a line she'd never crossed before. What if we're wrong? She asked. What if he doesn't care about being disowned? Then we go to Plan B, Ethan said. What's Plan B? We make this public? Ruin his reputation so thoroughly that he'll be too busy dealing with the fallout to bother you. That's destruction. He's been destroying your life for 18 months. Turnabout is fair play. Lily looked at the evidence again. Bank statements, wire transfers, emails discussing the embezzlement in barely coded language. David had been sloppy, arrogant. He'd never expected to get caught. When do we tell him? She asked. Tonight. I've already arranged a meeting. He agreed to meet with you? He thinks I'm a potential investor in his company. He has no idea I know who he is. Ethan, if this goes wrong, it won't. You can't know that. Then we make sure it doesn't. The meeting was at a bar downtown, neutral territory. Ethan wore a suit. Lily wore jeans and the panic button Marcus had given her, just in case. David showed up exactly on time, confident and smiling. He was handsome in that manufactured way. Expensive haircut, perfect teeth, clothes that screamed money. Lily felt her stomach turn. Mr. Cole, David said, extending a hand. Thanks for meeting with me. Ethan didn't shake it. Cut the bullshit. You know who I am, and I know who you are. David's smile faltered. I'm sorry? Lily Harper. Ring a bell? The color drained from David's face. His eyes darted around the bar looking for exits. "Sit down," Ethan said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "Unless you want everyone here to know what we're about to discuss." David sat. Ethan slid a folder across the table. "Open it." David did. Lily watched his face as he flipped through the pages. Confusion, then recognition, then fear. "Where did you get this?" David asked, his voice tight. "Doesn't matter. What matters is that if you don't leave Lily alone, this goes to your father and the SEC and every media outlet in Texas. You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a choice. Stop stalking Lily, delete her contact information, forget she exists, and this stays between us. Keep harassing her and I destroy you." David looked at Lily for the first time since sitting down. "Is this what you want? To hide behind your rich boyfriend?" "I'm not hiding," Lily said, proud that her voice didn't shake. "I'm choosing to fight back. We had something special. We had nothing. You had control. I had fear. That's over now. Lily, my name in your mouth makes me sick. Don't say it again." David's face twisted. For a moment, Lily thought he might lunge across the table. Then he seemed to remember where he was, who was watching. "Fine," he said through clenched teeth. "You want me gone? I'm gone. But don't come crying to me when you realize what a mistake you're making." "The only mistake I made was staying with you as long as I did," Lily said. David stood, gathering the documents. "Is this everything?" "That's a copy," Ethan said. "The originals are in a safe place. If anything, and I mean anything, happens to Lily, they go public. If you come near her, they go public. If you so much as think about her too hard, they go public. Are we clear?" "Crystal." "Good. Now get the hell out of here." David left without another word. Lily watched him go, her whole body shaking. "It's over," Ethan said quietly. "He's done." "What if he doesn't care about the evidence? What if he cares? Did you see his face? He's terrified. But what if—" "Lily," Ethan took her hands. "It's over. You're safe. We won." She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that David would actually back off, that the nightmare was finally ending, but trust was hard when you'd spent so long being afraid. "How long do we wait?" she asked. "Before we know for sure?" "As long as it takes. But I don't think it'll be long. Guys like him are cowards. Now that he knows there are consequences, he'll move on to an easier target." The thought should have made her feel better. Instead, it made her sad. For whoever David's next target would be, for the fact that men like him always found someone new to terrorize. "Come on," Ethan said, standing and offering his hand. "Let's go home." Home. The word felt strange and right at the same time. For the first time in 18 months, Lily had a home that wasn't just a place to hide. She had people who cared about her, who fought for her, who made her believe in things she'd given up on. She took Ethan's hand, and together they walked out of the bar into the Austin night, leaving the past behind them one step at a time. The first week after the confrontation with David passed in a strange kind of silence. No texts, no calls, no glimpses of him lurking outside the coffee shop or following Lily home. It felt too easy, like waiting for a bomb to explode that never did. "You need to relax," Ethan said on day 8, watching Lily check her phone for the 100th time during dinner. "I'm relaxed. You're wound tighter than a spring. I'm just being cautious. You're being paranoid." "There's a difference?" Mia looked up from her mac and cheese, her face serious. "Miss Chen says paranoid means you think bad things are happening even when they're not." "Thank you for that definition, sweetheart," Ethan said. "So is Lily being paranoid or cautious?" "That's a complicated question." "Daddy always says that when he doesn't know the answer," Mia informed Lily. "Your daddy is very wise," Lily said, finally setting down her phone. "I know, that's why he has so much money," Ethan groaned. "We really need to work on your understanding of causation." "What's causation?" "It's—" "Never mind. Eat your dinner." Lily watched them, this easy back and forth between father and daughter, and felt something settle in her chest. This was what normal looked like. This was what she'd been running toward without realizing it. Not safety, exactly, but belonging. A place where she didn't have to constantly calculate threats and exits. After Mia went to bed, Lily and Ethan sat on his couch with glasses of wine neither of them was really drinking. "I keep waiting for the catch," Lily admitted. "What catch?" The part where this all falls apart, where I wake up and realize it was too good to be true. What if there is no catch? What if this is just life? Life doesn't work this way. Not for me. Maybe it does now. Lily wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that David was really gone, that the nightmare was over, that she could stop running. But trust was a muscle she'd forgotten how to use. I don't know how to do this, she said quietly. Do what? Be normal. Be in a relationship without constantly waiting for it to turn toxic. Be around Mia without worrying that I'm going to screw her up somehow. You're not going to screw her up. You don't know that. Yeah, I do, because you care enough to worry about it. That's already miles ahead of most people. Your bar is very low. My bar is realistic. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lily said, I need to tell you something. Ethan set down his wine glass. Okay. When I was with David, I convinced myself that I deserved it. The control, the isolation, the constant criticism. I thought if I just tried harder, if I was better, he'd stop. That's not how abuse works. I know that now, but at the time I believed it. And even after I left, even after moving 3 times and changing my number and starting over, part of me still believed I'd somehow earned it, that I was fundamentally broken in a way that attracted that kind of treatment. Lily, let me finish, please. She took a shaky breath. Being with you, being around you and Mia, it's making me realize how wrong I was. Not because you're perfect. You're not. You work too much and you try to solve problems with money and you have terrible taste in wine. Hey, but you're kind and you listen. And when I tell you something bothers me, you actually change your behavior. And that's so different from what I knew that sometimes I don't know how to process it. Ethan reached over and took her hand. I'm not perfect. I'm probably going to mess up, say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. But I'm never going to deliberately hurt you. That's the difference. I know. That's what scares me. Why? Because if you hurt me accidentally, it means I can't protect myself. With David, I always knew what would set him off. I could predict it, manage it. But with you, I don't know what's coming, and that's terrifying. So you want me to be predictably bad instead of unpredictably good? I want to stop being afraid all the time. Then stop. It's not that simple. Maybe it is. Maybe you just decide that you're done being afraid and you move forward anyway. That's not how trauma works. No. But it might be how healing works. Lily looked at him, at this man who'd somehow become essential to her survival, and felt tears prick her eyes. I don't know if I can do that. Then we'll figure it out together. One day at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of not being afraid at a time. What if I fail? Then you try again. That's all any of us can do. She leaned against him, letting his warmth seep into her bones. Outside, Austin hummed with its usual chaos. Inside, 2 broken people chose to believe in something neither of them fully understood yet. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. 3 weeks after the confrontation, Lily finally let herself believe that David was really gone. There'd been no contact, no sightings, nothing. Marcus still drove her to work sometimes, but more out of habit than necessity. The panic button sat in her drawer, unused. She started sleeping through the night, started making plans more than a day in advance, started looking at apartments with more than one room because maybe, just maybe, she could afford to want things again. I'm thinking about going back to school, she told Ethan one Saturday morning while they made breakfast. He looked up from the eggs he was scrambling. Yeah, for what? I don't know yet. Maybe business, maybe psychology, something that matters. Working at a coffee shop matters. You know what I mean. Something where I'm building towards something instead of just surviving. I think that's great. You're not going to offer to pay for it. Do you want me to? No, but I expected you to offer. I'm learning, she smiled. You are. Mia wandered in, still in her pajamas, dragging her stuffed rabbit. Are we having pancakes? We're having eggs, Ethan said. Eggs are boring. Eggs are protein. So are pancakes if you put peanut butter on them. That's not how nutrition works. Then nutrition is dumb, Lily laughed. She's got a point. Don't encourage her, Ethan said, but he was smiling. They ate breakfast together, the 3 of them, and it felt so normal that Lily had to remind herself this was her life now. Not a borrowed moment, not a temporary shelter. Her actual life. After breakfast, while Ethan took Mia to a birthday party, Lily went back to her apartment and stared at the bare walls. She'd been living here for almost 5 months and still hadn't unpacked properly. Still hadn't bought furniture or hung pictures or done anything that suggested permanence. She thought about what Ethan had said about choosing not to be afraid, about moving forward anyway. Then she pulled out her phone and called her father. He answered on the third ring. "Hello? Dad? It's Lily." Silence. Then, "Lily, I didn't expect to hear from you. I know, I'm sorry for everything, for not listening when you warned me about David, for cutting you off when you were right. You don't need to apologize." "Yes, I do. You were trying to protect me and I made you the enemy. That wasn't fair." Her father's voice cracked. "I thought I'd lost you." "You didn't. I was just lost for a while. But I'm finding my way back." They talked for an hour, about the years they'd missed, the things they'd both been too proud to say, about her mother and how much they both still missed her, about David and how Lily had finally gotten free. "Are you safe now?" her father asked. "Yeah, I think I am." "Good. That's all I ever wanted." "I know. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." "You were doing your best with what you had. That's all anyone can do." When they hung up, Lily felt lighter than she had in years. Some bridges could be rebuilt. Some mistakes could be forgiven. Some relationships were worth fighting for. That night, she told Ethan about the call. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Scared, hopeful, both at once." "That seems to be your default state lately." "Is that bad?" "No. I think it means you're actually living instead of just surviving." "When did you get so wise?" "I have a good teacher." "Mia." "You." Lily felt her cheeks warm. "I'm not teaching you anything. You're teaching me that it's okay to be scared and do things anyway, that healing isn't linear, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help." "I didn't ask for help. You forced it on me." "Details." She threw a couch pillow at him. He caught it, grinning, and for a moment they just looked at each other. Then Ethan's expression shifted into something more serious. "I want to ask you something," he said. "Okay. And you can say no. You can tell me it's too soon or too much or too anything, but I need to ask." Lily's heart started racing. "What?" "Move in with me." She blinked. "What?" "Move in, with me and Mia. Not because you need protection, or because you can't afford your own place, but because I want you here. Because Mia wants you here. Because this already feels like home when you're in it." "Ethan, I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out. But I also know that I wake up every morning hoping you'll knock on my door. And I go to sleep every night wishing you were on the other side of the wall instead of across the hall. And life's too short to pretend I don't want what I want." Lily's mind raced. This was too much, too soon, too everything. She'd just gotten free from one controlling relationship. Moving in with Ethan could be walking into another trap, except it wasn't. Because Ethan had spent months proving he wasn't David, proving that love didn't have to come with conditions and control, proving that asking for what he wanted didn't mean taking away her choice. "I need time to think about it," she said. "Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? That I'll wait as long as you need? That there's no pressure? That I meant it when I said you could say no?" He smiled. "Because all of those things are true. You're making this very hard. Good. You deserve to have to make hard choices instead of just reacting to bad situations." She wanted to argue, but he was right. For the first time in years, she was making choices instead of just surviving consequences. "Give me a week," she said. "Take a month. Take 6 months. I'm not going anywhere." "You keep saying that." "Because I keep meaning it." Lily thought about it for 5 days, made lists of pros and cons, called her father and talked it through. Talked to Sarah at work, who told her she'd be insane to say no to a billionaire who actually seemed to give a shit. On day 6, she found Mia sitting in the hallway between their 2 apartments, reading a book. "What are you doing out here?" Lily asked. "Waiting." "For what?" "For you to decide if you're going to live with us." Lily sat down beside her. "Your dad told you?" he asked. "He tells me everything. Well, most things. Not the boring stuff about work." "And what do you think about it?" Mia set down her book and looked at Lily with an intensity that was unnerving in a 6-year-old. I think you should say yes. Why? Because Daddy's happier when you're around, and I like having you here. And also because your apartment is sad, and ours is better. My apartment is sad? It doesn't have any stuff in it, just you and that dead plant. The plant isn't dead, it's just struggling. Same thing, Lily laughed. You're a tough critic. I'm honest. Daddy says honesty is important. Your daddy's right. So are you going to say yes? I'm thinking about it. What's there to think about? Good question. What was there to think about? The practical concerns were minimal. Ethan's apartment was bigger, nicer, in a better location. The emotional concerns were more complicated, but weren't they always? The real question was whether she was brave enough to choose happiness instead of safety, to risk being hurt again in exchange for the possibility of something real. Can I tell you a secret? Lily asked. Yes. I'm scared. Of what? Of messing this up, of letting your dad down, of not being good enough for either of you. Mia frowned. That's a dumb thing to be scared of. Why? Because you're already good enough. You're nice and you're funny and you fix things when they're broken. That's good enough. Out of the mouths of children. Lily felt tears prick her eyes. What if I said yes and then changed my mind? She asked. Then you'd move back across the hall. It's not that far. It's literally 20 feet. See? Easy. Lily looked at this kid, this impossibly wise 6-year-old, and felt something settle in her chest. Maybe it really was that simple. Maybe she could say yes and see what happened. Maybe she could trust that if it didn't work out, she'd survive. Maybe she could finally stop running. Okay, she said. Okay, what? Okay, I'll move in. Mia's face lit up. Really? Really? Can I tell Daddy? Sure. Mia took off running, her book abandoned in the hallway. Lily could hear her shouting through the door about how Lily said yes and they needed to get her stuff right now, immediately, this second. Ethan appeared in the doorway, his hair mussed, his expression somewhere between hopeful and terrified. You said yes? He asked. I said yes. Just like that? Your daughter makes a convincing argument. She gets that from me. She gets that from being smarter than both of us combined. Ethan crossed the hallway and pulled Lily into his arms. Thank you. For what? For taking a chance, for trusting me, for choosing this. Don't make me regret it. I'll do my best. They stood there in the hallway, holding each other, while Mia made excited noises about which room would be Lily's and whether they could get another bookshelf. It wasn't perfect. Lily still jumped at unexpected noises, still checked her phone obsessively for messages that didn't come, still had nightmares about David showing up and destroying everything she'd built. But she was trying, and that was something. Moving in took less time than Lily expected, mostly because she barely had anything to move. A few boxes of clothes, some books, the struggling plant that Mia immediately adopted as a personal project. Ethan insisted on buying her new furniture, and Lily insisted on paying him back, and they compromised by agreeing she'd contribute what she could, and he'd cover the rest. This still feels like charity, Lily said, looking at the price tag on a desk she'd never be able to afford. It's not charity. It's an investment in our future. That's very romantic for someone talking about furniture. I'm a romantic guy. Since when? Since I met someone worth being romantic for. Lily rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. They set up her room, technically a guest room, but everyone knew it was Lily's space, with a real bed and actual curtains, and a bookshelf that Mia helped organize by color, and then by which ones look happy. This one looks happy, Mia said, holding up a mystery novel with a bright yellow cover. That's about a serial killer, Lily said, but the cover is sunny. Fair point. That night, Lily lay in her new bed in her new room in Ethan's apartment and tried to process the fact that this was her life now. She had a room with furniture. She had people who cared about her. She had a future that looked like more than just survival. There was a soft knock on her door. Come in, she called. Ethan stuck his head in. Just checking that you have everything you need. I'm good. Okay, well, good night. Ethan? Yeah? Thank you for all of this. You don't have to thank me. I know, but I want to. He smiled, that soft smile he reserved for moments like this, and closed the door. Lily stared at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the apartment settling around her. Ethan moving around in his room, Mia talking to her stuffed animals, the hum of the refrigerator, and the distant sound of traffic. Home. This was home now. She fell asleep with that thought, and for the first time in 18 months, she didn't dream about running. The next few weeks developed a rhythm. Ethan would wake up early and make coffee. Lily would stumble out of her room looking like death and steal his mug. Mia would appear demanding pancakes, even though they'd explained repeatedly that pancakes weren't a daily food group. Why not? Mia asked for the 100th time. Because you'll turn into a pancake, Lily said. That's not how biology works. Since when do you know about biology? Since always. I'm very smart. She's not wrong, Ethan said, scrolling through his phone. They'd have breakfast together, then Ethan would drop Mia at school before heading to his office. Lily would go to work at the coffee shop, though she'd started looking for other jobs. Something with benefits and a future and less shouting from management. In the evenings, they'd have dinner together. Sometimes Ethan would cook, sometimes Lily would. Sometimes they'd order takeout and let Mia pick a movie. It was domestic and ordinary and everything Lily had never let herself want. One night, about a month after she'd moved in, Lily was cleaning up after dinner when her phone rang. Unknown number. Her heart stopped. It's probably a spam call, Ethan said, watching her face. Probably. But her hands were shaking as she answered. Hello? Ms. Harper, this is Detective Rodriguez with Austin PD. We spoke a few months ago about your harassment case. I remember. I wanted to let you know that David Chen was arrested this morning. Lily's knees went weak. She grabbed the counter for support. What? He was pulled over for a traffic violation and the officer found evidence of stalking in his vehicle. Photos of another woman, GPS tracking devices, detailed logs of her movements. We brought him in and he confessed to multiple counts of stalking and harassment spanning the past 2 years, including you. Is he in jail? He's being held pending arraignment. Given the evidence and his confession, the DA is pursuing charges that should keep him locked up for a while. I thought you'd want to know. Thank you. Thank you so much. You did the right thing by documenting everything. That helped build the case against him. Take care, Ms. Harper. Lily hung up and stared at her phone. What happened? Ethan asked, coming over. He's arrested. David. He was arrested for stalking someone else and he confessed to everything, including what he did to me. He's in jail? He's in jail. Ethan pulled her into his arms and she let herself collapse against him, sobbing, not from fear this time, but from relief. It was over. Really, truly over. David was in jail where he couldn't hurt her or anyone else. It's over, Ethan murmured into her hair. It's finally over. Mia appeared in the doorway, her face worried. Why is Lily crying? Happy tears, Lily managed. I'm crying happy tears. That's confusing. Yeah, Lily said, laughing through the tears. It really is. That night, after Mia went to bed, Lily and Ethan sat on the couch and talked about what this meant. I keep waiting to feel different, Lily said, like I should feel free or relieved or something, but I just feel tired. That makes sense. You've been in fight or flight mode for 18 months. Your body needs time to catch up with your brain. How long does that take? I don't know, but however long it takes, I'll be here. You keep saying that. Because I keep meaning it. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I love you. I love you too. Even though I'm a mess? Especially because you're a mess. You're my mess. That's disgustingly sweet. I know. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights through the window. Somewhere out there, David was sitting in a cell, finally facing consequences for his actions. And here, in this apartment, Lily was finally free to build a life that didn't involve looking over her shoulder. What do you want to do now? Ethan asked. What do you mean? Now that you're free. Now that you can make plans without worrying about him finding you. What do you want? Lily thought about it. I want to go back to school. I want to build a career that matters. I want to reconnect with my dad more. I want to watch Mia grow up. I want to be with you. That's a good list. What about you? What do you want? This, exactly this. You and Mia, and a life that's about more than just making money and avoiding feelings. You've come a long way from the guy who fixed my cabinet and couldn't make eye contact. I had a good teacher. Mia? Both of you. Lily turned to look at him. Can I ask you something? Anything. What happens next? With us, I mean. We're living together, we're raising Mia together, but we've never really talked about what this is. Ethan was quiet for a moment. What do you want it to be? I asked you first. Okay. I want this to be permanent. I want you to be part of my family officially. I want to know that when I wake up tomorrow and the day after and 10 years from now, you're going to be here. That sounds like a proposal. It's not. Not yet. Because I know you're not ready for that. But it's a promise that when you are ready, I'll be here. And I'll ask. And I'll hope you say yes. Lily felt tears prick her eyes again. You're going to make me cry again. Good tears? The best tears. They kissed then, slow and sweet, and Lily felt something inside her finally settle. This was real. This was happening. This was her life. Not perfect, not without scars, but hers. 6 months later, Lily enrolled in community college. She'd decided on psychology, figured she had enough experience with trauma to maybe help someone else navigate it. It was hard, juggling school and work and life with Ethan and Mia, but it was the good kind of hard. The kind that meant she was building something instead of just surviving. Her relationship with her father slowly rebuilt itself. He visited once, met Ethan and Mia, and cried when he saw how happy Lily was. They talked on the phone every week, making up for lost time one conversation at a time. David's trial happened without Lily having to testify. His confession and the evidence against him were enough. He got 8 years, though he'd be eligible for parole in 5. Lily tried not to think about what would happen when he got out, choosing instead to focus on the present. Mia started 2nd grade and declared she wanted to be a scientist who studied dinosaurs, and also a princess, because why choose? Lily helped her with homework and school projects and taught her that you could be both strong and scared at the same time. Ethan cut back his hours at work, delegating more and trusting his team to handle things without him. He still worked too much, but he was trying, and trying was enough. They became a family. Not in the traditional sense, Lily wasn't Mia's mother, would never try to be, but in the way that mattered. They chose each other every day. They showed up for each other. They built something real out of broken pieces. One evening in late spring, Lily was studying for her finals when Ethan knocked on her door. Busy? He asked. Always. What's up? Mia has a question for you. Lily closed her textbook, immediately worried. Is she okay? She's fine. She just wants to ask you something, in person. They walked to Mia's room, where she was sitting on her bed surrounded by stuffed animals and drawings. Hi, Lily, she said, suddenly shy. Hi, sweetheart. Your dad said you had a question? Yeah. Mia took a deep breath, like she was preparing for something important. Can I call you Mom? Lily's breath caught. What? I know you're not my real mom. I know she's in California, and she calls sometimes, but you're here, and you help me with homework, and you read to me, and you make Daddy happy. So can I call you Mom, or is that weird? Lily looked at Ethan, who had tears in his eyes, then back at Mia, this incredible kid who'd somehow become the most important person in her world. It's not weird, she managed. It's perfect. So I can? If you want to, but only if you want to, no pressure. I want to. Okay then. You can call me Mom. Mia launched herself at Lily, wrapping her arms around her neck. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. Ethan joined the hug, and they stood there in Mia's room, the three of them holding each other, and Lily thought about how far she'd come. From a studio apartment with nothing but fear and a dead plant to this, a family, a future, a home. It wasn't the life she'd planned. It was better. Later that night, after Mia was asleep and Lily was back at her textbooks, Ethan came into her room with a small box. What's that? She asked. Open it. Inside was a key. I already have a key to the apartment, she said, confused. It's not for the apartment, it's for the house. What house? The one I just bought. 4 bedrooms, big backyard, in a neighborhood with good schools. I thought maybe it was time we had a place that was ours. Not mine, not yours, ours. Lily stared at the key. Ethan, you don't have to say yes. We can stay here. We can wait. But I wanted you to know that I'm all in, that I'm not going anywhere, that I want to build a life with you, whatever that looks like. Is this a proposal? Not yet, but it's close. Lily looked at this man who'd saved her life by letting her save herself, who'd shown her that love didn't have to hurt, who'd given her a family when she'd lost everything else. Show me the house, she said. They went the next day, the three of them. It was perfect. Big enough for everyone to have their own space, but small enough to still feel like home. There was a yard where Mia could play, a room that would be perfect for Lily's study, an office for Ethan that actually had a door he could close. What do you think? Ethan asked as they stood in the empty living room. I think it's perfect, Lily said. Yeah? Yeah. Can I get a dinosaur lamp for my room? Mia asked. You can get whatever you want, Ethan said. Even a real dinosaur? Maybe not a real one. Then what's the point? They moved in 2 months later. Lily finished her first year of college with a 3.8 GPA. Ethan proposed on a random Tuesday while they were doing dishes, no fancy dinner or elaborate plan, just a simple question and a ring that had belonged to his grandmother. Lily said yes. They got married 6 months later in the backyard of their new house, with Mia as the flower girl and Lily's father walking her down the aisle. It was small and simple and perfect. No big production, no stress, just two people choosing each other in front of the people who mattered. During the ceremony, the officiant asked if anyone had objections. I have one, Mia said, raising her hand. Everyone froze. Why can't I have cake right now? Why do we have to wait until after? The tension broke. Everyone laughed. The ceremony continued, and afterward, eating cake in the backyard while the sun set, Lily looked around at her family, her husband, her daughter, her father, the friends she'd made, and felt something she'd thought she'd never feel again. Safe, loved, home. It hadn't been easy. There were still hard days, days when the old fears crept back in, days when Lily checked her phone expecting threatening messages that never came. But those days grew fewer and farther between, replaced by ordinary moments of domestic joy. Mia's school plays and science fairs. Ethan's terrible attempts at cooking that always ended in takeout. Lazy Sunday mornings where they stayed in bed too long and let Mia watch cartoons. Fights about dishes and schedules and whose turn it was to walk the dog they'd eventually adopted. Normal life. Complicated, messy, beautiful normal life. One night, a year after the wedding, Lily stood in Mia's doorway watching Ethan read her a bedtime story. Mia was getting too old for it, but she still asked for one every night, and Ethan still delivered. The end, Ethan said, closing the book. That was a good one, Mia said. Yeah? Yeah, I like the ones where everyone lives happily ever after. Me too. Do you think we're living happily ever after? Ethan glanced at Lily, still standing in the doorway. I think we're living, and most of the time we're happy, and that's about as close to ever after as anyone gets. That's a good answer, Lily said, coming into the room. I have my moments. They kissed Mia goodnight and walked back to their bedroom hand in hand. Do you ever miss it? Ethan asked as they got ready for bed. Miss what? The before. The independence, the simplicity of being alone. Lily thought about it. Sometimes, but then I remember what that independence cost me. How lonely I was, how scared, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. Even on the hard days? Especially on the hard days. They climbed into bed, and Lily curled against Ethan's chest, listening to his heartbeat. I love you, she said. I love you too. Even though I'm still kind of a mess? Especially because you're still kind of a mess. We both are, but we're messes together. Lily smiled in the dark. That should probably be our family motto. Messes together? Has a nice ring to it. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and Lily dreamed of the future instead of the past, dreamed of Mia growing up, of her own graduation, of growing old with this man who'd taught her that love could be gentle. It wasn't the fairy tale ending she'd been told to expect. There was no magic fix, no moment where everything became perfect and stayed that way. Life was still hard sometimes, Fear still crept in, scars still ached, but she'd learned something important. Healing wasn't about erasing the past or becoming someone new. It was about accepting what had happened, choosing to move forward anyway, and building something worth keeping out of the broken pieces. She'd learned that strength wasn't about never being afraid. It was about being afraid and doing the thing anyway. She'd learned that family wasn't always blood. Sometimes it was a billionaire single dad, his too smart daughter, and a woman who'd run out of places to hide. She'd learned that home wasn't a place. It was people who chose you, who fought for you, who loved you even when you couldn't love yourself. And she'd learned that the bravest thing she ever did wasn't running from danger. It was stopping long enough to let someone catch her when she fell. Years later, when Mia was grown and starting her own life, when Lily had her master's degree and was running a support group for domestic violence survivors, when Ethan had finally learned to leave work at the office, they'd look back on this time and marvel at how far they'd come. But in this moment, lying in bed in their house with their daughter asleep down the hall, they didn't think about the future or the past. They just existed in the present, grateful for second chances and new beginnings, and the simple miracle of finding each other when they'd both stopped looking. Outside, the world kept turning. Inside, a family slept peacefully, no longer running from their demons but learning to live alongside them. It was enough. It was everything. It was home.